What's up, black people? It's me again, and I'm making this video for education, entertainment, and for human awareness and human rights only. With that, let's get started. Um, I just want to, talk to you and bring, to my melanated people's attention, some of why this latest, why I'm speaking on this latest incident with, Venezuelan and the United States. Okay, let me ask you a question. you know what is the function what is the function of the United Nations or the UN Security Council? And before you guys answer that, just look at this video. I know many of you have seen it already, but it's a reason to my method of my madness. Here, check it out.
We do begin tonight here with the breaking news. The U.S. with a major escalation in its showdown with Venezuela tonight. The U.S. Coast Guard seizing an oil tanker just off the Venezuelan coast. Late today, the Trump administration releasing dramatic images showing Navy helicopters flying in, heavily armed Coast Guard forces rappelling onto the deck, guns drawn, as they swarmed the ship. What we're now learning about where the tanker was headed, and President Trump has asked, what will he do with the oil? How he answers. The president tonight saying the ship was seized for a, quote, very good reason. Then the president warning another country's leader he could be next. All of this comes amid the U.S. operation targeting alleged drug boats, nearly 24.
Okay, you know, the reason why I asked you, the why, what is the function of these organizations? They profess to be, keepers of the peace. They're champions of human rights. But my thing is, I'm trying to, why are they? If you know the functions, I've demonstrated and showed you the functions of these, organizations, that have been formed by racist colonialism and imperialism. They're formed by all these racist countries that have, you know, violated and violated other countries' sovereignty and violated human rights. They have committed atrocities. Then years later, they formed the UN, and they formed the UN, and all these peacekeeping organizations, supposedly, you know. Well, there's here's the thing: they're silent right now. They haven't said anything on this country's violating, another country's sovereignty. He has yet to produce any evidence to substantiate his incursions upon the United States incursions on Venezuelan sovereignty. You know, but it's like and they're silent. There's this very same silence that they choose to choose to ignore these type of incidents. Their very silence is the reason why tens of millions of indigenous black people have died under their watch. You know, even like I said before, when these organizations was formed, these all those countries that was involved in forming these them fake organizations are the same countries who engaged in human rights violations. They committed atrocities, heinous atrocities, in support of murder, rape, pillaging. You know, they all these countries that's supposed to be sitting on the UN Security Council, the United States is no different. Why are the United States allowed to commit, these atrocities, and still allowed to be seated on the UN Security Council? You know, it just amazes me. Why do the United States? Why these particular, their functions, their charters is contradictory to the behavior of the United States. Their United States behavior is the very reason why these organizations were set up in the first place. But when you set up these organizations and break every You know, and if you're part of if you're part of a group to help set up an organization, then later on and start and continue to commit these atrocities, then that organization is suspect. That organization needs to disband because they are condoning criminality. They are condoning mass murder. They are condoning theft. They are condoning human atrocities. You know, and it's like, why do what I'm saying? And you don't wonder why the United States spend billions of dollars on foreign aid. You don't take a rocket science to figure that out. Why the United States every year spends billions on foreign aid and its own infrastructure is crumbling. We have natural disaster after natural disaster. And some of these states is still in shambles. But this very dude that we got in office called other countries shitholes. America is becoming a shithole right before our eyes. And, and it's not, and you know what? Black people always get the blame for their fuck ups. We get the blame for it. So they won't feel guilty. So they won't feel guilty about their destruction that they're causing on themselves. That's psychotic. You have to ask yourself, at what point in time is enough? Because we're not in control. We're not in power. You have to think about that. And it's the steady manipulation and lies that everybody always fall for. Now we have seen, a lot of these American government officials create turmoil amongst America. We have seen these government officials commit heinous crimes already. Human trafficking, committing pedophile acts, murder, treason, and no one is arrested. No one is in handcuffs. No one is arrested. Yet normal Americans, if we put our toe across the line, we're getting locked up. And black people, indigenous people, and when we're confronted with things like this, we're always, are told to, just accept it. Just accept it. Rule of law. There's no rule of law in this country anymore. No one's been arrested, but yet the Epstein incident, that was real. Epstein was a real, Jeffrey Epstein was a real person. But no one's arrested for this yet. But yet black people, is getting murdered for telling the cops you're violating my constitutional rights. You see a record number of white supremacists carrying Nazi flags. We fought against the Nazis, but yet that symbol, like you say, it's freedom of speech, it's freedom of expression. But when black people, indigenous people try to express their freedoms, we're suppressed. We're murdered. We're we're locked up by government officials. So just keep in mind, when the arrest is going to come. When all the arrests going to come for all the evil satanic rituals and rape of young kids. And you got government officials tied to these matters. So with that, just stay alert. Stay vigilant. And just love, peace, and hair grease. I'm out.